I opened my eyes, and the clock was still frozen at 3:17. If you are still listening, do not blink. Do not look away, because this is the moment it started. My name is Adam. For years, sleep had never been rest for me. Doctors called it insomnia, then anxiety, then hallucinations. None of them noticed the pattern. Every nightmare began at the same time. 3:17 a.m. That night, my room was silent. No wind, no traffic, just the slow ticking of the clock that suddenly stopped. I felt the fall first, not from my bed, but through it, like my body had forgotten gravity existed. When my feet touched the ground, I was standing in a long corridor washed in sickly yellow light. The walls were lined with framed photographs. All of them were me. Photos from moments I never remembered living. A child crying in a hospital hallway. A teenager staring at a grave. A man sleeping while something stood beside him. Behind me, footsteps echoed. Slow, heavy, deliberate. I turned. Nothing. Then a whisper slid directly into my ear. Adam, you still think waking up means escaping? My chest tightened. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The lights flickered violently, and every photograph turned black at once. I woke up gasping. My bed, my room, my heart pounding. I looked at the clock. 3:17 a.m. Relief almost made me cry, until I noticed the deep red marks carved into my right wrist. Fingernail marks. From the inside. And that was when I realized. I had not woken up. Something had let me go. I lay frozen on the bed, staring at the ceiling, counting my breaths. 1, 2, 3. The fingernail marks on my wrist burned like fresh wounds. They were real. I pressed my fingers against them to be sure. Pain shot up my arm. This is real, I whispered. The room felt wrong. Not dark, thick. As if the air itself was watching me. The silence stretched too long, until I realized something terrifying. I could no longer hear my own breathing. Slowly, the sound returned, but it was not coming from my chest. It was coming from the walls. A low wet inhale, then an exhale. The room was breathing. The bedside lamp flickered on by itself. Its weak yellow light revealed something I had never noticed before. Handprints. Dozens of them. Pressed into the walls, the ceiling, even the floor. Some were small, like children's hands. Others were large, twisted, with fingers bent the wrong way. They were all facing my bed. The breathing grew louder. I swung my legs off the mattress, and the floorboards moaned, not from weight, but from relief, like something had been waiting for me to stand. Behind me, the mattress sank. Slowly, carefully, as if someone invisible was sitting where I had just been. A whisper crawled across my neck. Every time you wake up, you leave something behind. I spun around. The bed was empty, but the sheets were being pressed down by the shape of a body that was not there. Then the clock ticked. Once. I looked at it. 3:18 a.m. For the first time, the time had changed. Panic surged through me. I backed toward the door, reached for the handle. It twisted on its own. The door opened into darkness that did not belong to my apartment. A long staircase descended into blackness, pulsing softly, like a throat swallowing. From below, dozens of voices whispered in perfect unison. Come down, Adam. You already started falling. As I stepped back, the breathing stopped. The room went silent, and I realized something far worse. I could no longer remember what it felt like to be awake. That I stood at the edge of the open doorway, staring down into the staircase that should not exist. My apartment was on the 3rd floor. There were no stairs inside it. Yet the steps stretched downward, curving slightly, disappearing into a darkness so deep it swallowed the light spilling from my room. The walls of the staircase were not concrete or wood. They were wet. Each step pulsed faintly under my feet, like muscle tightening and relaxing. I had the horrible certainty that if I stood still too long, the stairs would close around my ankles and pull me down. The whispers returned. Not loud, not urgent, patient. Every dream needs a direction. Every fall needs a beginning. I grabbed the door frame to steady myself. The frame was warm. Too warm. It felt like skin. I tried to pull my hand away, but the surface tightened slightly, as if it did not want to let go. Panic surged and I yanked hard, stumbling backward onto my floor. The door slammed shut on its own. Silence. For 3 seconds, everything was normal again. My room, my bed, my clock. I laughed, a short, broken sound, until I noticed the clock. 3:17 a.m. It had gone back. as if the moment of 3:18 had never been allowed to exist. Then I heard footsteps. Inside the room, slow steps crossed the floor behind me, each one heavier than the last. I did not turn around. I already knew what I would see. A presence leaned close to my ear. "You felt it change, didn't you?" it whispered. "That's because the dream almost slipped." A cold finger traced the nail marks on my wrist. "But don't worry." The voice continued, smiling through its words. "We fixed it." The mirror on my wardrobe suddenly cracked from top to bottom. In the reflection, I finally saw it. My own body was still lying on the bed, breathing, asleep, and standing over it was me, wide-eyed, unblinking, smiling far too much. The reflection mouthed four silent words. "You don't wake up." The lights went out, and something climbed into my chest that I couldn't breathe. Something heavy pressed against my chest, forcing the air out of my lungs inch by inch. My vision blurred as darkness crept in from the edges. I clawed at my shirt, at the invisible weight crushing me. And then it lifted. I sucked in a sharp breath and staggered back. The room was lit again, but it felt smaller now, tighter, like it had closed in while I wasn't looking. The mirror was no longer cracked. It was open, not broken, open, like a window cut into reality. Inside it stood the other me. He stepped forward. The surface of the mirror rippled like water as his hand emerged first, then his arm, then his entire body. When his feet touched the floor, the glass sealed itself smoothly behind him. We stood face to face. Same height, same face, same scars, except his eyes. They were too calm, too knowing, like he had already watched me fail 1,000 times. "You're late," he said, his voice perfectly matching mine. "You usually realize faster." "Realize what?" I whispered. "That you're the part that wakes up," he replied, smiling. "And I'm the part that stays." The clock ticked loudly behind us. I turned my head. 3:17 a.m. Of course. The other Adam walked toward the bed and sat down exactly where I had been moments earlier. The mattress dipped beneath his weight, solid and unquestionable. "You feel real, don't you?" he asked. "Pain, fear, confusion. That's how they know you're ready." "Who?" I demanded. He lay back, folding his hands over his chest. "The dream," he said, "and the ones trapped inside it." The walls began to breathe again. Slow, deep, hungry. The other Adam closed his eyes. "Go back to sleep," he murmured. "If you don't, you'll see what wakes up instead." The lights flickered once, and behind me, something tall and unfinished inhaled for the first time. I felt it before I saw it. The air behind me turned cold, so cold it burned. Every instinct screamed at me not to turn around, but my body betrayed me. My neck stiffened, muscles pulling on their own. I turned. It was tall, too tall to fit in the room, yet the ceiling curved upward to make space for it. Its shape was wrong, unfinished, like someone had stopped imagining halfway through. Long arms hung past its knees. Its skin looked stretched, translucent, and beneath it, something moved. Breathing. Not lungs. Not a chest. The thing inhaled through its entire body, and the walls answered, breathing with it. The other Adam did not move. He lay on the bed peacefully, eyes closed, as if this was nothing new. "That's the Warden," he said softly. "It makes sure no one wakes up twice." The Warden's head tilted. I realized that it did not have a face. Where I should have been, there was only smooth skin, slowly tightening, as if something underneath was trying to push through. I stepped back. The floor rippled under my feet, softening like flesh. My heel sank slightly, and I yanked it free with a wet sound. "Run," the other Adam whispered, still not opening his eyes. "It likes it when you run." The Warden took one step forward. The sound was not a footstep. It was a heartbeat. Thump. The clock on the wall twitched violently. 3:17 a.m. Again. Thump. The door burst open, revealing the staircase. Wider now, deeper, its walls contracting and expanding like a throat in labor. From below came voices. Hundreds of them. Some crying. Some laughing. Some begging. All of them sounded like me. The Warden leaned closer. Its skin stretched tighter, and a shallow mouth tore itself open across where its face should be. Inside were teeth. Human teeth. "Every Adam falls eventually," it said in my voice. I ran toward the stairs. As I crossed the doorway, the other Adam finally opened his eyes. They were empty, and he whispered. I already did. The moment my foot hit the first step, the staircase dropped. Not collapsed. Not broke. It let go. My body lurched forward, and suddenly I was falling through the stairs instead of down them, tumbling through a vertical tunnel of breathing walls. Hands reached out from the darkness, pale, cracked hands, brushing my clothes, my face, my eyes. They were not trying to grab me. They were checking me, as if confirming I was still real. The whispers grew louder the farther I fell. He's new. He still remembers light. He still thinks falling ends. I slammed hard onto something solid. The impact knocked the air from my lungs. I lay there choking, staring up at a ceiling that pulsed slowly like a living organ. Dim red light seeped from the walls, revealing rows of doors lining a massive circular chamber. Every door was marked with the same thing. 317. Scratched. Painted. Carved. Some doors were cracked open. Inside them, I saw fragments. A hospital bed surrounded by screaming doctors. A classroom filled with headless students. A bedroom where a man shook another man awake and failed. I struggled to my feet. As I did, one door creaked wider than the rest. Inside was my room, my bed, my sleeping body. Standing beside it was the warden. It slowly turned its unfinished head toward me. "You fell faster this time," it said calmly. "That means you're learning." "Learning what?" I shouted. The chamber shook. From every door, voices answered at once. How to stay. The floor beneath me began to tilt, guiding me toward the center of the chamber where a deep, circular pit opened like a pupil. Something inside it blinked. The warden stepped out of the door and into the chamber with me. "You don't escape a perpetual dream," it said. "You replace someone." The pit inhaled, and I realized the terrible truth. Someone had to fall forever, and the chamber was making room for me. The pit pulled at me. Not like gravity, like a tension. The closer I got, the more I felt seen, examined down to the smallest thought I tried to hide. The edges of the pit were smooth and wet, lined with ridges that tightened and relaxed as it breathed. I dug my heels into the floor. The floor responded by softening. "No," I whispered. The warden stood a few steps away, perfectly still. It did not need to chase me. It already knew where I would end up. "Everyone resists at first," it said. "That's how the dream measures you." I looked around the chamber again. The doors were changing. The numbers scratched on them began to peel and rearrange, bleeding into new words. Failed. Looped. Replaced. One door remained unchanged. Mine. 317. It began to open. Inside, I saw a memory I had never questioned. A doctor leaning over me. A pen scratching a chart. "Patient has not responded to stimuli. Possible permanent coma." The pit pulsed harder. "So this is real," I said. "I'm dreaming because I'm dying." The warden tilted its head. "No," it corrected gently. "You're dreaming because you're useful." The voices rose again, louder now, frantic. "He's still thinking. Push him. Make him forget." Hands burst from the walls, gripping my arms, my shoulders, my throat. Their fingers were ice cold and familiar. They all had my fingerprints. As they dragged me closer to the pit, I noticed something inside it. Not darkness. A face. Mine. Eyes wide. Mouth open in a silent scream. But older. Worn. Endlessly awake. It looked up at me and shook its head slowly. Behind me, the warden whispered the final rule of the dream. "Once you see yourself falling, you never stop." The hands let go. I slipped. And the pit closed its eye. I slipped. The pit closed its eye. Darkness swallowed me. Not like night. Not like sleep. This was a living, thinking void. The walls pulsed as it dragged me downward, and every heartbeat of the chamber echoed in my own chest. I screamed, but no sound left my throat. Then, the darkness split. A faint red glow appeared beneath me. The warden's voice whispered from everywhere and nowhere. "Welcome to the part where you understand." I fell onto a slick floor, covered in shadows that moved like liquid. The air was heavy with the scent of iron and something older. I tried to stand, but the shadows wrapped around my legs like snakes, pulling me back with whispered promises. "Don't fight, stay with us." Ahead, the pit's surface rippled like water. Inside, I saw not one face, but hundreds, all my own. Each atom trapped, each screaming silently. Their eyes pleaded, but the void would not let me reach them. The warden stepped closer, impossibly tall. Its unfinished head stretched higher than the ceiling. Its voice, my own voice, repeated, "You can't wake. You only fall deeper." Suddenly, the floor beneath me gave way entirely. I plunged into the pit, surrounded by the floating fragments of rooms I recognized: my bedroom, the corridor, the staircase, the classroom. Each fragment replayed a moment of fear, amplified, shadows crawling, whispers growing louder, mirrors reflecting endless versions of myself. I tried to grab the edge of something solid, but everything was wet, pliable, alive. My hand sank into it. A scream tore out of me, swallowed instantly by the darkness. Then, the red glow surged upward. I saw a staircase, not the one before. This one spiraled infinitely, its steps made of skin and bone, pulsing with heartbeat-like rhythm. The warden followed silently behind me. I realized, with crushing horror, the truth. Every step I take forward is a step into someone else's nightmare, and there is no bottom. I had become part of the Perpetual Dream. And at the top of the staircase, a faint, mocking light flickered, showing me my sleeping body again, waiting and smiling. Clock read, 3:17 a.m. I swallowed hard. The warden whispered, "Do you finally understand? Adam, you don't wake. You only replace." I trembled. The staircase shivered beneath me, and I stepped forward. And that is when I saw something moving inside the pit, watching me back. I froze. Something inside the pit was moving. Not a shadow, not a hand. It was eyes, hundreds of them, blinking in unison, each staring directly at me. Some were my own, others impossible. They glimmered with a sickly red hue, reflecting the heartbeat of the staircase made of skin and bone beneath me. A whisper came from everywhere at once, yet clear, sharp, and personal. "They are waiting for you." I tried to scream, but no air left my lungs. My heart pounded so violently it sounded like it would shatter my chest. The warden stepped closer, its unfinished head stretching impossibly high, its form bending the shadows around it. "Every atom sees them eventually," it said, "and every atom falls exactly the same way." The eyes multiplied. They rose from the pit, crawling like liquid. Fingers of darkness emerged, wrapping around my ankles, pulling me closer. I struggled, trying to kick off, but the floor beneath me was alive. It pulsed with each heartbeat, rising and falling like a lung. I caught a glimpse of the pit's surface. It was no longer empty. Inside, my own sleeping body floated on a thin layer of crimson light, eyes wide open, staring. I wanted to reach it, wanted to touch it, but every movement I made was resisted. The watchers whispered, louder now, in overlapping voices. "He doesn't get to wake. You don't get to wake." The staircase stretched endlessly into the darkness above, and I realized every step I had ever taken, every decision, every fear, had led me here, to be observed, measured, and broken. Then, the red glow flickered violently, and I felt something brush against my neck. Not hands, not shadows. A face, pale, grinning, pressing directly against my skin from the void. I fell forward, screaming silently. The warden's voice echoed in my head. "Welcome to the part where you stop being Adam and start being the dream." The pit inhaled again, and I realized there is no bottom. Only watching, waiting, and endless falling. I hit the floor of the pit hard, my body trembling. The air was thick, suffocating, like it had mass, like it had intention. My hands scraped against something wet and moving. Something alive. The face pressed against my neck was smiling. Its skin was too pale, stretched tightly over bone, and its eyes, my eyes, reflected terror I didn't know I still possessed. It whispered my name. "Adam. Adam, you're mine now." I twisted and fell backward. The pit reacted instantly. Its walls pulsated violently, rising up like towering waves, narrowing the space around me. The watchers multiplied, their glowing eyes forming patterns that hypnotized, that pulled me toward the center. From above, the staircase of skin and bone extended endlessly, groaning under its own weight. The warden descended slowly, a shadow taller than the chamber itself, its unfinished face stretching as though tasting the fear in the air. "You're learning," it said. "You're beginning to understand why we never let go." I looked down at the pit again. My sleeping body floated calmly on the crimson light, serene, as if waiting for me to join it. I wanted to reach it, to wake up, to escape this eternal nightmare. But the watchers, hundreds of eyes, hands, faces, began to press upward, pulling me away, dragging me deeper. I tried to scream. My mouth opened. No sound emerged. I was screaming inside my own head, and that scream became a chorus as more versions of me, trapped inside the pit, joined in. Suddenly, the face pressed closer. Its lips touched my ear. The dream chooses who sleeps and who falls. I felt my body lifted, suspended above the crimson abyss. The staircase shivered. The warden's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. This is the part where you stop resisting, or you will never leave. And then the watchers blinked as one. And I knew. There was no escape from the perpetual dream. Suspended above the crimson abyss, I felt weightless and suffocated at the same time. The watchers blinked in perfect unison, their eyes burning into my mind. The hundreds of faces, my own, screamed silently, mouths moving, but no sound reached me. Then I realized, the faces were not just watching me. They were pulling my memories, draining my identity. Every fear, every doubt, every shred of hope was siphoned from me, leaving me hollow. The warden descended further, each step making the pit pulse like a drum. Its unfinished face leaned closer, stretching impossibly, tasting my terror. You see now, it whispered in my voice. We are not here to end you. We are here to remake you. From the abyss below, one of the sleeping atoms twitched. His eyes opened, wide, blank, terrifying. And suddenly, the others followed, hundreds of eyes staring straight at me, silently screaming in perfect synchronization. Join us, join us, join us. I clawed at the air, trying to grab anything solid. My hands met nothing but pulsing shadows. The pit's walls undulated, narrowing, forcing me closer to its center. And then the staircase groaned. Steps of bone and skin twisted upward, reaching higher than before, forming a cage around the chamber. I looked up. The staircase now had a door at the top, the same faint mocking light from before. My sleeping body was just beyond it. I wanted to reach it, to wake, but my body was no longer entirely mine. Parts of me were already claimed by the pit. My limbs moved on their own, pulled downward, toward the center where the watchers converged. The warden's voice grew louder, resonating inside my skull. This is the point of no return, Adam. The dream has chosen you. Either you fall, or you become it. A hand, pale, skeletal, impossibly long, shot up from the pit and touched my chest. My heart froze. The watchers blinked, and the abyss exhaled. The hand pressed against my chest. Cold, wet, alive. Its fingers sank slightly into my skin, gripping with a force I could not resist. I struggled, but my body had begun obeying the pit more than me. Every movement I tried to make was countered by invisible strength pulling me down. The watcher's eyes multiplied, blinking faster, a strobe of red and white that burned into my vision. Their mouths opened in perfect synchronization, and 1,000 silent screams filled my head, echoing across every nerve. I tried to call out, to scream, to fight. My own voice returned only as a whisper. Adam, you are ours. The pit's center began to shift. The red glow thickened, forming shapes that resembled doors. Doors I had seen before, each labeled with a time, each containing another version of me, trapped, screaming silently. The warden moved closer, its unfinished head bending impossibly, observing me with patient curiosity. Its voice, my voice, repeated. Every atom is tested. Every atom falls the same. But not all survive the watching. Suddenly, one of the hands from the abyss wrapped fully around my torso. I was lifted, hovering above the pit like a marionette. The watchers blinked in unison, and I felt every memory of freedom and waking ripped from me. Panic and terror flooded my mind, but the pit absorbed it, feeding on it, growing hungrier. My sleeping body floated in the crimson light above, serene, waiting. I wanted to reach it, to wake, to escape this endless nightmare, but every step was resisted. The warden's voice whispered directly into my mind. Fall, Adam. Fall fully, or remain trapped forever. Then the pit exhaled, a roar of shadow, teeth, and unseen mouths. And I realized, I was already too deep. There was no turning back that I hung above the crimson abyss, suspended by the pit's unseen hands. Every heartbeat echoed, not just in my chest, but throughout the chamber, vibrating through my bones. The watchers multiplied, hundreds of my own faces, mouths moving silently in perfect synchronization. Their eyes bored into me, assessing, consuming, measuring. I struggled to move, to resist, but the pit was alive. It was learning me, adapting to every instinct, every fear. My limbs were no longer my own. They jerked against my will, responding to the rhythm of the abyss. The warden stepped closer. Its unfinished head stretched impossibly toward the ceiling, tilting to inspect me from above. Its voice, my voice, whispered directly into my skull. Every atom reaches the point where he becomes the dream, or is consumed by it. You have a choice, but only one exists. From the pit below, my sleeping body floated higher in the crimson light. Its eyes were open, watching, waiting. I wanted to reach it, to reclaim myself, but the hands and eyes of the abyss pulled me downward with irresistible force. Then, I saw it, another atom, suspended in the pit, shaking violently, screaming silently. His skin was pale, stretched tight. His eyes were empty. And above him, the warden smiled. "You are next," it whispered. A cold realization struck me. The pit did not just consume bodies. It replaced them. Every atom trapped here was a shadow now, a watcher, part of the endless chorus waiting for the next to fall. The pit exhaled. Hands gripped me tighter. My own body twitched in the crimson glow above. The warden leaned closer. Its unfinished face almost touched mine. "Do you accept it, Adam?" it hissed. And then, as the watchers blinked all at once, I felt my soul begin to slip. I was no longer fully Adam. The abyss opened wider. And the last thing I heard before I fell further into darkness was my own voice screaming, "I don't want to wake." I fell deeper into the pit, beyond the crimson glow, beyond the eyes that watched, beyond the hundreds of silent atoms. The air itself seemed alive, pressing against my chest, tugging at my limbs. The staircase above me twisted endlessly, spiraling like a rib cage, enclosing the chamber in suffocating darkness. The warden descended beside me, its unfinished head stretching impossibly high. Its voice, my voice, resonated in every part of my body. Every atom falls the same way, until he becomes the dream itself. I saw fragments of rooms floating in the abyss, my bedroom, the corridor, the staircase, the classroom. Each replayed my memories, amplified, twisted. Shadows crawled along the walls, whispering in voices that sounded exactly like mine. "Fall, accept, become, join us." The crimson light above flickered. My sleeping body floated there, serene. Its eyes, wide and unblinking, reflected a terrible mockery. I wanted to reach it, to wake, to escape. But the pit would not allow it. The watchers surged upward, hands grasping, fingers curling around my arms, legs, neck. Hundreds of my own faces pressed in from all sides. I tried to struggle, but the warden's whisper filled me. "Resist, and the dream will consume you completely." A hand emerged from the pit itself, skeletal, impossibly long. It pressed against my chest, driving me downward, into the darkness. My body sank through the abyss, past fragments of rooms, past shadows that clawed at me with faces I knew, with eyes I recognized. Then, a chilling clarity struck me. The pit wasn't just a place. It was a mirror of eternity. Every atom who fell became part of the watchers, part of the pit. And now, it wanted me to join. The watchers blinked once. The warden leaned closer, teeth forming where its mouth should not be. "You are ready, Adam. Become or be lost forever." I screamed inside my own head, and the abyss exhaled, swallowing me whole that I fell into darkness. Not the darkness of night, not of a closed room. This was alive. It wrapped around me, pressing against my chest, swallowing my screams, filling my lungs with cold. Every heartbeat of mine echoed through the pit, but the watchers did not blink. They multiplied. Eyes, faces, mouths, hands. All versions of me, all screaming silently, all waiting. The warden loomed beside me, impossibly tall, unfinished, teeth forming where no mouth should exist. Its voice, my voice, whispered, stretched across my skull. "This is the part where you stop being Adam, or the dream consumes you entirely." I tried to reach my sleeping body, floating above in the crimson light. It was calm, serene, eyes wide open, smiling at me like a cruel observer. Every step I tried to take, every motion I made, was resisted by the pit. The watcher's hands gripped me, pulling me downward into a vortex of flesh and shadow. A horrifying realization struck me. The pit was endless. Every atom before me had fallen, become part of the Watchers, part of the chorus, part of the abyss. And now, it wanted me to replace them. The Warden leaned closer. Its unfinished face pressed impossibly close to mine. Its whisper cut through my mind. Fall, atom, or remain trapped in the echo of your own screams forever. The pit inhaled. The red glow surged. The Watchers blinked in unison, hundreds of my own faces forming a vortex of horror around me. I screamed inside myself, my soul clawing for escape. My body moved on its own, sinking toward the center where the abyss opened like a massive, patient mouth. I passed my own sleeping form. It reached out, hands trembling, desperate, pleading, but I could not respond. My body was already half claimed, half loosed, tethered to the dream. The Warden's voice echoed one last time. Welcome to the Perpetual Dream, Atom. Here, you never wake. And as the abyss closed its eye, I realized the truth. There is no waking. Only falling, only watching, only waiting forever. The Watchers blinked. The pit exhaled. And I became the dream. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for more terrifying stories.